What is going on, guys? Happy Wednesday. Hopefully everyone's having a fantastic evening. James B, Brandon J, Josh Allen, TBJ, Mr. Robinson. What is going on, guys? Hopefully you guys are having a fantastic week so far. Just gonna pop out the chat so I can see it easily. Dun Mandarin Gobi, what's shaking? So yeah, today is, I don't know, a bit of a free-for-all. Seems to be a lot of these, but it's kind of fun just asking and answering all the random questions. So if you guys want anything specific you want me to dig into, let me know. Otherwise, you get the random rambling until then. So hopefully everyone is having a fantastic Wednesday. I have not been working from home for the last little while, so I'm actually just enjoying the Gonnies and the torches right now. Sadly, I don't know if Cali's going to happen yet, Phil, just because I don't have a house sitter yet. Which kind of sucks, but we will see where that happens. So it's still highly questionable. I will come eventually, though. Do you know Corey from Aquarium Co-op? I know of him. I haven't personally met him. I know. I feel you. But yeah, so I don't know. It's been a busy couple weeks the last little while. I had Worldwide come over with Vic came into town, which is kind of random. Never expect to see him on my half of the world, and he came and shot my tank. So it'll be kind of fun to see my tank on someone else's channel, which will be pretty cool. So that's coming up. I shot a little like 10, 15 minutes, like little mini podcast test with him. I'm trying to build a little podcast studio. So I did a little recording. He's kind of my first test subject. So I haven't edited it yet, but hopefully that worked out good. Cracking Curls, what's going on? How's the wildfire smoke in your part of the country? It's awful here lately. It's actually, to be honest, it's been not bad at all. There is little bits of it some days, but you know, today's kind of rainy and it's been pretty good, surprisingly. So I just did my Monday videos on the battery backup one, which I always tend to go in waves of battery backup of sessions, mainly because of the fires. And I know other reefers around me that, you know, previous years they've been out of power for, you know, extended periods. So I have a slight battery backup obsession. But so I just did a video on the Blue Eddy thing, which is super cool. The thing's really cool. I'm really digging that thing. Can I put mollies in a 5-gallon saltwater tank with corals? You can, but if they are freshwater mollies, you need to slowly acclimate them to get them used to saltwater. Unless they're already saltwater, then you're fine. Lots of shutdowns in Edmonton. That sucks. It always is sad to see tanks shut down. Makes me sad. But yeah, it is trickier with all the stuff going on in the world these days. I moved my 1 nano tank to my work office. Now it's funny. Now even the owner's like, we should put one in the lobby. So, you know, maybe we might sneak a second tank in there. So I'll do my part to expand the tanks out in the world. Got a couple new Gonnies in the tank. Both are looking pretty happy. I should put my 45 camera on, but if I'll show up. Yeah, it doesn't really show up well. But I did get that glitter Gonnie, which is pretty sweet. And the flame tip, I think it's called, also super cool one. So those are the latest additions to the Gonnie tank. I'm still on the hunt for more, as always, but it's a bit of a slow process. And then what else we got that's new and exciting? Playing with the Aquaforest skimmer a bit more, so I'll probably finally do a video on that one. I know that is going to change a bit, and the one I have is a prototype, but it's still kind of fun to play with. So I'll probably do something on that in the near future since I've had it and been playing with it for quite a while, but pretty funky design, and that was the all-in skim. Rusty Tugs. On the note of Gonnies, I just got a new bright red one from Fragbox. Sweet. I like it. I should actually check out Fragbox. I haven't checked out their Gonnies in a while. I got some of my initial batch from them. When's the WWC video coming out? I'm not sure, to be honest. Probably a couple weeks, I'm guessing. Because I know they're doing a bit of a tour on the West Coast and filming stuff and then editing it. So somewhere in the queue, I'm sure. But it'd be kind of funky. But one of the funny thing is I knew my nutrients were bad, but I haven't tested them in ages. And Vic asked me, like, what do you keep them at? I was like, I have no idea. I haven't checked them in so long. So after he left, like a few days later or last week, I finally tested them. And like my PO4 was up there, which I kind of knew it was, and my nitrates. So I'm working on getting them down a bit. So I started doing, pop some, Rophos back in my reactor again and using a bit of the Tropic Marin Elimin P, I think it is, dosing that daily. So I'm seeing what that's doing to get her back down to a happy level. And then my Gonnie tank was super high as well in phosphates. Of course, didn't test in a while, so not surprised. So that creeped up. So I am going to run some GFO in the tank once I get it. But in the meantime, I've been using a bit of lanthium, just putting a few drops in every day just to kind of slowly knock it back down. So my nutrients were shamefully high. So I'm working on getting those back down to a happy level. Okay, have you seen the Reef's Elementes H2P dosing system? Going to give it a go alongside the Neptune Pix Jr. After reading 142 pages of information, I think it'll be a game changer. I have not, but I am now going to Google it because you piqued my curiosity. Okay, so that's from D&D. Interesting. All right, I will research that one later. I have not heard of that until like 2 seconds ago. What type of bacteria gets rid of nitrates in saltwater tanks? So there is denitrifying bacteria. I did actually order some of that protobio stuff to try out, and I should have it tomorrow. So I might try dosing that as well. There is like sulfur denitrating bacterias and different things that you can dose. So I'll let you know how that one goes once I actually play with it a bit. Lots of people said it's great for lowering nutrients, so we'll find out as I work on getting mine back to a reasonable level again. There was also one I mentioned a while back, but it was called NitroGuard that worked really well. It was kind of like carbon dosing, it basically is. But it's these little crystals, and I put them in a bag and put an air bubbler underneath it. And it just gradually lowered them over, the 6 to 8 weeks, which was a nice, gentle, subtle lowering and worked really well. So if all else fails, I might try that stuff again, but it did work really well. Fish Fam Link, what's going on? I have next to nothing for Aiptasia in this tank anymore, which is phenomenal. That's another big win for me. That was excessively Aiptasia overrun in the Gani tank, and now I can't even find one if I try. So that's been phenomenal to finally get rid of that. When you're saying high PO4, how high are we talking? All right, what tank do you want to know? Do you want to know the Nias or this one? They're shamefully high. Okay, so I knew they were high, but I neglected them for a long time. So the last reading for my water box on August 2nd was 57.7 nitrate and 0.1 phosphate. And this is actually low. When I tested it a while back, on July 25th, it was 0.21 in the water box. And before that, it was even higher. And then the NIAS was really high. So that one was... nitrate. The last test was... Once I find it... When was it? A month ago? I don't even find the dot on my Apex graph. Phosphates was like 2 or something like that, which I don't know if my test kit was wrong, but it was saying it was 2, not 0.2, 2.2, which I'm like, hey, that's insanely high. So that's the shamefully high. The water box wasn't as bad. Like 0.2 isn't terrible. 2, terrible. So I have been dosing lanthium to the tank to knock it down, and then I also ordered a mini reactor. And hopefully it works well. It looks what I order, the Aquamax brand, Aquaready. They have a little one that's kind of the base pops off. It's kind of like the Nias one, like the Sigma reactor. So hopefully it works well. It was like $100. Ordered that one, and I'm gonna try that one with some Royal Fossa on the Nias tank just to get that one back down and happy. So the funny thing is, that being said, the Ganis look great and the torches look great considering my excessively high PO4, but I still want it into like a more of a normal-ish range. Okay. So shamefully high. Can the floor on a second floor of a 100-year-old Brooklyn, New York townhouse hold a 170-gallon tank plus some? I have no idea what the floor in a 100-year-old Brooklyn townhouse looks like, but general rules... If you know which way the joists are going and you put it so it's spanning multiple joists against a load-bearing wall, you'll be a lot safer. If your room's 15 feet wide, probably not a big deal. If your room's 30 feet wide and it's holding that big, huge span, more of a concern. Now, if you can get to underneath the tank, you can always reinforce it. So on my water box, 200 gallons or so of water, plus some, I reinforced it. I took some 2x6s and I wedged them under the joist, so there's some vertical support underneath where the stair header is, so it helps offset a lot of that weight. And I've been issue free, but I have 4 2x6s kind of supporting around like where the little studs and beams are underneath the tank for a good measure. Are you still using the AI Hydra Edge? Yes, I am. How's it doing? I really like them. These guys are boom on the tank. Super cool lights. I love that. Okay, one sec. Let's tilt this up a bit. And lost the signal. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, so Hydra Edges, whenever my camera kicks back in. Apparently twisted too far. These guys, super cool. I love that they tilt like that, and I love that I can go hide it that little bit just so you don't see it. Super cool. They have a fan, at least where I'm at. It's around 50%-ish. I rarely ever hear the fan. Super duper dead quiet. They got really good spread. If you've seen the blades before, it's kind of like a couple blades mashed together. But yeah, super cool lights. I dig them. I like them. Fix my focus. So yes, I do dig them. I think they're pretty cool lights. Refugium is huge in the UK right now. Comes with a separate pH solution, seems to cover every aspect of, and is super cheap. Super cheap is a good win. It's hard to argue that. Oh, other fun news. One of my dosing heads was having an issue. So my calcium reactor has been offline for the past little bit. So I'm only dosing my water box right now. The one plus is there's not a massive difference in pH. So that's good to know. I was always curious. The other side, I'm just doing all for reef. So I'm dosing I think I'm up to 175 mils a day of all for reef or something like that, trying to keep her going until I get the replacement pump one tomorrow and I can offset it again. But it's a good chunk of all for reef going there every day. Believe number 2 worked well. Okay, Jose, fairly new to the reefing community. Welcome. Roughly 4 months. Battling heraldry. Any recommendations for phosphates are in check, as well as nitrates. Emerald crabs are good, right? Also really love zoas, but I'm afraid. Okay, zoas in general are great. If you... Final Mac, thank you for the super chat. I'll answer your question in one sec, but thank you, much appreciated. So okay, I don't worry about zoas, but I avoid pallies. So pallies are evil. They have paleotoxins. Zoas technically can, but I find they're pretty mild in the grand scheme of things compared to a pally. So don't touch pallies, but zoas you're relatively safe. For heraldry, manual removal obviously is going to be easier. One of the best eaters, in my opinion, is a tuxedo urchin. Those guys just go to town on it. They're phenomenal. I had issues in the past. I added some of those and it all disappears. They go to town. So they're phenomenal. If you need you're trying the natural things, nothing's working, eventually you can take the sledgehammer approach, which is using fluconazole, or like Reflux. There's a few different brands, but essentially it's fluconazole. And if you do that at a double or triple dose, it will basically dissolve it all in, 2-ish, 3 weeks. But it is better to do the natural approach. The sledgehammer approaches usually have some other kind of follow-up issue potentially. So that's why I always use that the caveat. But it works if all else fails. Well, if Devin says it's good, then order the tank. Then I best order the tank. What tank would I say is good? Okay, Final Mac. I maintain my elk with Kalkwasser. I am now dosing the maximum amount of evaporation, so looking to add a calcium reactor. Can you explain the process of how you go about implementing it? Very, very easy. Keep your calc at what you're doing, and add your calcium reactor. I run mine using reborn media with a pH at around 6.5, and keep it relatively pegged there. Then you just dose how much effluent you're dosing to the tank. So you can either push salt water through the calcium reactor, or you can pull it through the calcium reactor and then drip into the tank. I'm always a fan of pushing it through it just because I find it keeps it quiet. When if you suck, sometimes air gets in there and it makes it noisier. But usually, depending on the size of your tank, just start at, maybe 10 or 20 mils a minute, and then test your tank, wait 24 hours, test it again. If your numbers are stable, you're perfect. If your numbers are still dropping, just up your effluent dosing a bit. And, if their numbers are going up, drop it down a bit. So it's pretty easy just off of some daily tests to tweak it from there. Dun, dun, dun. Thank you for the $10 super chat, buddy. Much appreciated. If you have any more specific questions on it, let me know. But in general, max out your Kalkwasser from there and then start offsetting the rest with calcium reactor. Any plans to do a more Zoa specific video with Josh or other awesome growers? I really enjoy those. I can try and get Josh on again. That was a really fun one, actually. He was a great guy. If you have anyone else you want me to get on or you think could be like an awesome person to have as a guest, let me know and I'll reach out to them. I've been super busy and I've been slacking at lining up guests the last little while, so I got to get back on that. But probably will in the fall. Summertime, gets a bit crazy and whatnot. But if there's anyone specific you want me to have on, just let me know. What's shaking, Andrew? No problem, Final Mac. Question, I have a carbon reactor. If I add UV to the same pump, does UV go before calcium reactor or after? It could go either way, to be honest. I would probably put it first, just because if you have little carbon fines and stuff coming out of it, it wouldn't muck up your UV as much. But I don't think order really matters on that one. Either way, water is going to pass through both. You're obviously going to have slower flow running through carbon, so it's going to be more contact time running through the UV, which will kill off other stuff. But either way, it would probably be fine in the grand scheme of things. Impromptu Q&A again. Yep. When it's summertime and Devon's crazy, these ones are really easy for me and they're fun. I like just off the cuffing answering questions. So you betcha. Once fall comes, I'll probably be more vigilant on actually like lining up guests and stuff again. But it's summertime. People are busy. Life's crazy. These ones are easy to just roll with it. Trying to think it more complicated than it is. Yeah, honestly, we all make things way more complicated than they need to be in reef tanks. It just is the way it is. We overthink things, and most of the stuff at the end of the day is super simple. And it's funny because even if I'm thinking about my own tank, I'll overcomplicate it. But if someone asks me the same question, it'll be way simpler in the way I'll relay it to them, which kind of makes me laugh. Do I dose traits and phos? I dose trace elements, yes. I don't dose phosphates. If anything, I try and lower my phosphates. I, have a lot of big fish in my tanks, not so much the NAS, but the other tank. My water box, like many, many big tanks for its water volume. So if anything, I'm always struggling to lower it. So no dosing nutrients for me. If anything, it's finding ways to lower them down. So Josh, I am 170 XC. That's a pretty cool tank. Good choice. Good choice. My tank bottoms out in nutrients. Yeah, I don't even know what it's like to have a tank to bottom out in nutrients. All mine have always run high. But I also feed very heavy. I feed with a shovel, which probably doesn't help my cause. I don't rinse my frozen food. There's a lot of stuff that I could do that I don't, that I should probably do to minimize elevating them. When will you review the Mastertronic Essentials? I don't have one yet, but it's possible I may end up with one. And if so, I will play with a bit and absolutely do a review on it. I do like the original Mastertronic. It's a pretty cool device. The new one is similar, but they made a bunch of improvements. So there's less moving parts. There's less stuff to maintenance, which is a big win. So I think it'll be a pretty solid product long term, especially when you don't have to worry about, replacing needles and all that other stuff on it. Do you have AquaWiz? Do you like it? In general, yes, I do like it. I do have one. Now, the odd thing is it was working very, very well. And since my calcium reactor had an issue, or not my calcium reactor, the pump head for the calcium reactor, it has been a little more all over the map. And I don't know if it's just because I was like tweaking it and doing adjustments and whatnot, but it was more consistent before and it hasn't been lately. So I don't know if I need to try and recalibrate it or something. But if you look at my Apex elk, let's find you this. And can I compare the AquaWiz? Okay, let's see if this shows up. Let's do, I guess it's not terribly off. Okay, so the orange line in the background is the Apex, and the alkalinity, and the Aquawiz one is the blue one on top. So I've done random spot checks, and the Aquawiz has been out of whack, and I've recalibrated it, and then it's still out of whack later. And I don't know if it's because my calcium reactor was off and I was making adjustments, and it just doesn't do well with the adjustments as well, or what it is. But I was working awesome, and then it's been a bit flaky the past week or so. But I've also been tweaking my dosing manually and stuff, so I don't know if those little swings are messing with it or something. Where I've spot checked it with the Hannah, and the apex was closer. So in general, yes, I like it, but the last week things have been a bit screwy. So ask me again in like a week or two. Overall, yes, but I still think there's a bit of weirdness that's happening. No, the Aquawiz is not controlling it. It's just straight up doing its own elk testing. The calcium reactor is more or less automated, and I use the apex to keep the CO2 pegged at 6.5. Bring back wet and dry bile balls. You know, they do work well. They're tried and true. It's simple. It works. Mandarin Gobi does a skunk shrimp eat parasites from fish on their body and do get rid of ick. They probably help. Like a cleaner fish will pick at fish, stuff off them. You know, cleaner shrimp will work on cleaning it. I don't know if it fully gets rid of it, but it definitely helps it. As long as your fish are healthy. Jamie Craig, actually, he'd be a good one to have on. I'm going to start making a list of people to bug and reach out to. Already streaming. Jamie Craig. All right. Now, what do you want for a topic with Jamie? I think I had him on one time. I don't know if I had him on or if I was just talking to him about coral spawning once, because I actually had one of the ones in my tank spawn, which was cool. Don't forget that hit like and subscribe button. I appreciate it, Fish Fam. Always appreciated, and it makes the YouTube algorithm happy. Skunk Cleaner is a cleaning champion. Yeah, they're cool. It is really cool to watch the interaction with fish too. When one comes in, they jump on and start cleaning the mouth and stuff. It is super cool to see. Aussie Dan, I want to upgrade my lights for my Zoa only frag tank system. Currently have primes. What would you recommend? What do you? I guess the first question is, what do you feel you're missing from your current lights? Do you want more spread? You know, different color? Like, what do you feel is missing? And then you can figure out what type of light to look at. And what size your tank is the other question that would be relevant. Blizzard Reef. I'm always so programmed to reduce nutrients. For some reason, my current tank just bottoms out, and I could tell the corals aren't happy. Yeah, I find if you're bottom out, the corals are almost more stressed than if your nutrients are too high. But in theory, it kind of can stunt growth. There could be some other issues in health if they're too high. I personally haven't worried about it, but I also have some of the bases of my corals have died off a little bit. But it's partially because there's gonnies and other stuff, tickling it the whole time, which doesn't help. But the lower, the higher phosphates and stuff could be relevant, not enough light, all that stuff kind of plays into it. I used to have the original Radion lens would bounce off the glass and it gave phenomenal light underneath, but I changed the lens to the narrow one so they don't get quite as much. I've lowered the height and done a bunch of little tweaks to kill light spill in the room. I've half debated making like a little floating canopy around the light bar. Still debating this, but I might get probably 6 inches, 6 to 8 inches of that PVC board and just do a big U shape and slide over top as a bit of like a floating canopy thing. We'll see. Alyssa, what's going on? Welcome. Kevin C. Question. Acro was stung by Galaxia. Galaxia is nasty. Branch has lost flesh, but some of the polyps are still apparent open. Should I snip the branch off to prevent it from receding? It will probably stop on its own. If you're still seeing STN and you're seeing it recede more and more, then yeah, you can absolutely frag it off. However, I have in my water box, I have this massive PC rainbow colony, and all the ones are getting tickled by the torch all the time. They've lost a bunch of branches. But the ones right over from it are perfectly fine. So it hasn't really progressed, but it's the ones that were directly getting stung by the torch that died off. So on the flip side, leaving that dead branch there almost works as a physical barrier from getting to the next healthy branch. So I fragged off some of the dead ones in my tank, but then I just killed the next ones over. So I was like, figures. Should have just left them there. Blizzard Reef, thank you for the super chat. Thank you as well, good sir. Much appreciated. So depends how you look at it. It could I would, if it's not hurting anything, it's not receding, I would just leave it there as a bit of a barrier to stop the Galaxia from stinging the next healthy branch over. Okay, Mandarin Gobi. Can I use a freshwater light for coral? And what coral can grow and thrive under white light? Any coral will grow under white light. It just won't look as good. It will still grow. It will still get that photosynthetic energy, but you're not gonna have that really cool glow and color pop that you will under freshwater as you will under saltwater light. Generally you're gonna see more of the brown and more pale colors. Where if you get a higher Kelvin spectrum, it has more blues to it, and you get a little more of that glow and fluorescence out of the tank. So you can do it. Lots of people grow corals under white light. They'll still look pretty, but they won't be as like fluorescent, amazing looking. So that's your trade-off of trying to use a freshwater on a saltwater. That being said, you could do that and add in just like a blue LED bar or something to kind of balance out a bit, and that might work too. Dun-dun-dun. Yeah, thank you, Blizzard. Much appreciated. Okay, so Jamie Craigs. I was lucky enough to hear and attend an event he was speaking at, and I could listen to the reefing legends knowledge of our hobby for hours and hours and hours. Yeah, no, he is an awesome guy, and I'll definitely lure him on. It's been a while since I've chatted with him, so he'd be a great one. Who else do you guys want on for the guest lineup? And is there any other people that grow awesome coral or like super knowledgeable people, and you want to see if they could be like a fun, interesting person to have on? Let me know. I'll start like lining up some for the next few months. Have you posted your Hydra schedule anywhere? I have not. I could probably post my blade schedule. Or not my blade, my Hydra edge. I haven't actually tweaked it in a while. I didn't for a while because I kept tweaking it. It felt like constantly, but I haven't really touched it in a while, so I'm pretty happy. It's bluer than my water box tank. What do I have going on with this one right now? But yeah, so I don't know. I'll post it later. I'll do something on it. But that's kind of what the current one is. And then the current blend for the day is so about 74 UV, 67 violet, 122% royals, 149% blues, and 60% whites. So that's kind of the current blend. And honestly, it's mainly off aesthetics, somewhat off par. But with just all the torches and the Ghanies, the colors just pop really nicely. I'll do a little more tweaking until I'm like fully happy with it. Overall, I'm pretty happy the corals look awesome underneath it. So it stayed this way for a while. So we were pretty close. Greg, I haven't had Greg on in ages either. Actually, he would be a good one. He's a bit harder with our work schedule and his time, but see what we can do. The real question is, who haven't you had on? That is a good question. But I haven't had lots of people on in a long time, so there's a good excuse to bring him back on. So that's also, potential. Jamie's speech on the spawning methods involving baby urchins and spawning corals in his kitchen is awesome. Yeah, no, definitely. Baby urchins were key too. Craig Brigman and Doug. Actually, Dong Zoo would be a good one too. And Craig, actually, both. Okay, perfect. I will line these guys up. They'll all be good ones. Come on, fall. We'll get the lineup stacked. I'll rewatch a stream for that. Running a 26 HD and a 44. Can't quite get the color right. Everything is growing well. I just don't like the look. Yeah, usually, so there's a lot of different blues and like aqua, e-blues and different ones. So a lot of it honestly is personal preference. I'm just kind of tweaking it to the colors that you like. Like I really like my Radion ones on my water box. Like I love my ReefDudes schedule because that one, it starts off really blue in the daytime. It's like really white, like it's a crisp white, but you still get a really good color pop. And then, it has that for about 4 hours, which I see it as kind of like higher par, high noon, better for growth. And then it goes into more of an AB plus, and then it just kind of slowly darkens to more blue in the evening. And I love that schedule. Where the Nias tank, I don't have as much of a white period. It's more just like bluey AB pluses, maybe even slightly heavier blues on this one. But all the Ghanies and the torches have like wicked color pop on it. So it kind of like depends. Depends on the tank. Depends on what you like. Yeah, I think your high blues are what's doing it. My schedule is about the same otherwise. Ryan Bachelor. I do have to get Ryan on actually. He actually agreed to come on too, and I just haven't lined it up yet. So he'll happen soon. But yeah, he'll be a good one. I'm enjoying what he's doing with his new channel now. Time for another Chris Meckley 3-hour stream. We'll see. Maybe 2 hours. 3's harder to push it these days. But could I put a mandarin, goby, and clownfish in a 20 to 30 gallon? Yes, you could. As long as it's not a brand new tank. Mandarins need lots of pods. If your tank is aged and established, he'll be fine. If not, you'll want to supplement it or get one that is for sure eating mysis, so you're supplementing it. I've been using your Radeon schedule for 2 years now and loving it. Love it, Alyssa. I did so much tweaking on that one and over the years, and I finally got it just like the sweet spot. And now that I've had coral spawn into it, I feel like it's like proven itself, and there's like tons of people use it, so I appreciate that. Thank you. Fragbox has got some awesome new gonnies. You better grab them. Oh man. Okay, I'll go look. Gonnies are addicting. It's kind of like this obsession to try and collect them all. Okay, I'm gonna open them for later and I'll scope them up. I think Jose from Reef's Elements would be a good guess. I expect the brand to be as popular worldwide as you hear now. I'd love for him to explain the H2P method. Okay, let me hunt him down and I will see what I can line up with him. Is he in Australia or UK? Where is he based out of? Just don't sort high to low. I know it's dangerous. Dun, dun, dun. This is the problem with coral. It's addicting. Searching for gonnies now. I'm scared. The only semi-tricky thing now with some of the gonnies is sometimes it's hard to know if you already have them or not when you start to collect them for a while. Like there's that bluey green one, which I may or may not have. So it's like, it's harder to justify more on them if I think I might have it. We'll see. So I might get a few. Does look pretty cool. I haven't ordered just a little. I haven't ordered in ages in the past month. It's been weekly. Can you get Reef Dorks on the stream? Sure, I can make that work. I shall make it happen. Polo Reef from Adam Sandler has been on here. He has. It's been a while since Andrew's been on, though. But yeah, he's definitely been on, I think, twice in the past. We'll do it up again someday, Andrew, if you're still watching. So what else you guys got? What else you got for reefing questions? What's happening with your guys' reef tanks? Any thoughts, issues, stuff you want to experiment? New fun gear? Stuff to try? Got the Protobio stuff I'm going to try. That's actually showing up tomorrow. I finally ordered it. It was in my cart for like 2 months. So last week I finally did an order. So that will be one I'm going to play with. And I'm really curious to see what the effect is on nutrients because supposedly it lowers it. That being said, like the bottle of the dose is probably more than I'll do. So I'll do less, but I'll do a little more frequently. And we'll see where it is. What monster fish are in the saltwater aquarium hobby? To be honest, I haven't done... I don't know. I'm not really into the big monster fish thing because it kills the scale of the tank. I kind of like more, Tang's like the biggest fish I put in. But, if you go to somewhere like the Rainforest Cafe, like the last time I was in Disney, some of those hippo tangs are massive in there. There's rabbitfish and some other fish that can get super huge. But yeah, Keith would actually be a good one to get on. What's your thoughts on the Lua X4? The Lua makes some nice lights. It wasn't the X4, but one of their other lights I tried way back when, and it was a pretty cool light. So I haven't personally seen the X4 in person, but I had liked some of the other Elu Magic lights I played with. I'm going to have to dig through the videos and watch those. Yep. I don't know if he would do it, but a friend Corey, farm manager for Top Shelf would be cool to have on. Super knowledgeable. I'll see if I can reach out to him, actually. You never know. Corey. Okay, it's good. Yeah, anyone you think would be great. I'll just start like lining a bunch up. It'll be fun. I love to do a live stream with Signature Frags UK. He's hard work. He needs to be seen. All right. Okay, I'll see if I can find this guy and reach out to him. UK is a bit trickier, late nighter, but if he's up for it, then heck yeah. The time zone things are always the one tricky bit. We're doing it from all over the place. Okay, perfect. Any other favorite ones? How's your copper band doing? Unfortunately, not so good from the NIOS, but my original one, the water box, is doing phenomenal. Struggling with keeping my pH up. LFS recommended some type of reactor. I forget. A small protein skimmer, GFO reactor, and UV already running. My water box 53 and a fan on it. The other, I guess, next big thing, if you're struggling with pH, if you really want to do it, is use something like soda lime and do a recirculating scrubber on your skimmer. That works really well. You know, the downsides is you have a consumable media that you have to replace, but I run it on mine, and you know, every like 3 or 4 weeks I replace it. And if you buy a 5-gallon bucket worth, it's actually not bad at all. If you're buying little bits, they'll probably get expensive. Adam Fry Garage. Yeah, I've had Adam on a bunch of times. I'll lure him on again. He's always a good guest. We always have interesting convos. I think my tank finally broke in 1 year later. All of a sudden, my nutrients are finally in range. Skimmer, roller pulling out nice and dark. Yeah, it is funny. It's, you know, tanks do take a while to skim in. When everyone asks me to, you know, how hard is the saltwater tank? I'm like, the older it is, the easier it gets. But the first year is definitely more work than the second year. How do you know your pH and why do you believe the reading? How do I know it? Because I have a pH probe in my tank. I believe it because you calibrate once in a while. So that's how I know. So, you know, I'm probably overdue for calibrating it, but just for instance, my water box, once it loads, so my pH in that tank is currently at 8.23. So you can see it goes from 7.87 to 8.2 in the last 24 hours. So I know just because of the probe and seeing where that's at. Ask the person about raising the pH. Okay, there you go. Yeah, so generally I've had that obsession, that pH battle about trying to raise it. Yes, you can get more growth, things can be happier, but at the same time, you got to ask, is it worth all those consumables and that extra media? You know, I don't really advise it, but there's also stuff like hydroxides that can really boost your pH, but they're super duper nasty stuff that you probably don't want to be playing with. My girls need a therapist. Yeah. I saw a branching Ghani recently. I didn't know that existed either. Now you got me intrigued. Mine kind of like, not like a legit branch, where they kind of grow like little like mounds on top of each other. And like some of them are a couple bumpy in my water box tanks for the ones that I've had for ages. That's kind of funky if it like legit branches. Curls are happy. LFS testing. I have an apex on the probe. Yeah, there you go. Good testing. Crazy. Never knew there was branching Ghani. That might be the one that kind of I has it, does it? Weird. 1:52 a.m. and I'm watching. Heck yeah, Jay. I appreciate the dedication, buddy. Much appreciated. Anyone else's apex pH reading way off? If, I guess, 2 questions on that one. First, when's the last time you calibrated it? Probably too long ago. And if you do calibrate it and it's still way off, then it's probably time for a new probe. They do have a certain life on them, and you know, if basically when you know it's time to replace it, it's because they drift too much or too quickly. Signature Frags is the best SPS in the UK, hardworking and good knowledge. I will look them up later for fun. Looks like a pretty cool store. Also love your live stream. Thanks, Scooby's Reef. Save up to 30%. There you go. They're even on sale if you're in the UK for signature frags. I think white corals and some of the Nios guys would be kind of fun to have on too. They're I've talked about the reefing shows, and some of their guys are just like crazy knowledgeable, like, you know, the stuff they're developing, which is super cool. I think it'd be a fun one. Dun-dun-dun. Book a visit. Frag packs. Anthony Hernandez, $10 super chat. Thank you, Anthony. Much appreciated. Appreciate it, Anthony. I bet Jermone would be good, as he's hardworking college student studying marine biology and spawning Aiptasia. He also runs a gallery and has a day job. Nice. I don't know who Jerome is. You have to show me that is yet. Have you seen Sam Parker's Reef in Australia? I've seen his YouTube channel. Definitely watch a bunch of Sam's videos over the years. J Advanced Aquarium Consultant. Oh, Paul! And Signature. And AAC, yeah, those guys are great guys. They're super fun guys too. I've actually hung out with them at some of at like Rap Orlando and stuff. They're very cool guys. I really do like them. Oh boy, too many things going on. You know, it's hard not to have a lot of things going on these days. Dun, dun, dun. I'm currently auto-dosing, is wondering if I still have to dose alkalinity if I'm dosing Kalkwasser. I mean, the only true way to know if you need to dose alk on top of calc is by testing your alkalinity and knowing if it's staying consistent or if it's changing. Generally, dosing Kalkwasser will keep stuff stable to a certain extent, but you can only dose as much as you evaporate. And if you go over that point, you're going to have, messing with your salinity, your water level will start raising. So that's kind of why your salinity or your evaporation point is your maximum calc dose for all intents and purposes. So if that's not keeping up, if you're still deficient elk, then you're gonna have to dose on top of it. So that's kind of the big consideration. So the only way to know for like 100% is, do your Kalkwasser, test it, wait 24 hours, test the next day. Did it go up? Did it go down? Did it stay the same? And then just adjust your dosing based off that. Final Mac. I use Instant Ocean because it's readily available. I use reef crystals and have heard people saying it's not really worth the extra money. Your thoughts? I just use Instant Ocean most of the time. I've used them both interchangeably. Reef crystals makes my bin messier. Instant Ocean mixes cleaner, so I honestly tend to use that. If you are dosing your tank via other methods, just use Instant Ocean. If you're relying on the elevated alkaline parameters instead of dosing, then use reef crystals, is like a general. But if you're dosing stuff anyways, just use Instant Ocean. It's cheaper, mixes cleaner. Izzy Ori, quick question for stable Refugium. What additive is necessary? Generally, over time, Chaeto or Refugium will grow really well. And, after a little while, it kind of stunts and quits growing. Usually when that happens is because you're out of like iron or molybdenum. And I think it's manganese, possibly the other one that LG likes a lot. So generally, dosing something like Brightwell Chaeto Grow or one of those Chaeto Grow supplements will replenish those trace elements. And then that will kind of re-kickstart your algae growing. So usually you can get away without it for a while, but at a certain point, you're going to become deficient in it. And then that will help out. Thanks again for the super chat, Final Mac. Appreciate it. Okay, so I have asked you before, please release your shows as a podcast. Yes. I have built a podcast studio in the works. So I plan on doing a second thing for podcasts, but I will probably do them both. And once I start doing one, I'll probably go through and like rip the audio off of a bunch of the video ones. So, it won't be perfect, pristine, and edited, but I'll probably pull them off and then mix them in for doing a podcast. But it is in the works, believe it or not. It's true. There is, where is it? I have a photo somewhere from a few weeks back. So check it out. It's in the works, I promise. I'm building like a little room set for a couple things so I can do a bit of a video podcast with guests. So I will start mixing them in. And when I do that, I will finally take the time to start turning this into an audio one, and I'll like mix the two together. Thanks, Gibby Reef, for keep cracking the whip. It will happen one of these days. This is branching similar to a Duncan. That's pretty cool, actually. Do love Duncans. Mandarin Gobi. Do you like fish that like a lot of water changes like goldfish and pufferfish? I don't like doing a lot of water changes and I don't like a lot of waste, but pufferfish are cool. I personally, I like the personality of pufferfish, but I wouldn't have a big one. I would probably, if I was gonna have a pufferfish, like in the past, I've had pea puffers, like these little super tiny guys. They're really cute, like freshwater puffers. And I've also, if I was to have one now, I would do something like the saddleback puffers. Those little stubby guys are only like that big. The problem is if you get a big puffer, well, they have cool personalities. Like you mentioned, they do a lot of waste, but they will also eat your cleanup crew. So they're going to eat your snails and the crabs and all these little creatures that help maintain your tank, which means your tank won't be as pretty. You know, you likely might run into more algae and other issues long term because of more nutrients, and you don't have any cleanup crew cleaning up stuff in your tank. So personally, that's why I wouldn't have a big puffer. I'd only do the tiny one if I was going to do it. But they do have super cool personalities. Paul, a C in the fam, helping get terrarium in the hobby. Couldn't ask for a better LFS. Yeah, you're lucky. Those guys are great guys. So really cool if you got those guys locally. So branching Gani, similar to Duncan. That's super cool. If I ever find one in the wild, I have to get one. Gonna have to get one. All right. There's only one cool Goniaporia in stock on Frybox. The rest are all gone. You already bought them all on me. I looked. Paul would be an awesome guest. You know what? He would be an awesome guest. Let me see. I bet he would come on. I had beers with him. He's a nice guy. Well, you just saved me money because there's only one Goni there, so it's not worth shipping. Jason B. I'm using 4 AI primes on a 54-gallon Red Sea mixed reef. I use Mobius, Saxby template. Should I run them at 100% or is that too intense? Ideally, you'd have a par meter to know what you're actually running them at. But 54-gallon tank, that's what, a 3-foot tank? What's the dimensions of your tank? Is it a 3-foot or 4-foot tank? But generally just tell me the dimensions of your tank, then I'll get a better estimate. It's hard to know if just gallons, because, that could be, short and tall. It's probably a 2-foot tall tank. I'm going to guess a 2 to 3 foot tank. Probably fine with that. I don't know if I'd run them at 100%. But generally, in my mind, an AI prime is good for roughly an 18-inch cube, depending on stuff. So mixed reef, 1 per every 12 to 18 inches is pretty solid. And I think you're pretty good with that one. In my mind, it would probably be more like 65 to 80% range. I don't think you'd want it fully at 100%. But that's kind of like my instinctual where I would start with on that one. But at the end of the day, ideally find a par meter. Haven't watched it yet, but I know Ryan Batchelor on Serious Reefs was doing one about watts versus, your guesstimation of it. So I'll watch that one later. I'll see how they work that one out. Kind of guessing roughly intensity based off how many watts the light's pulling. There'd probably be some other stuff to consider, like the angle of the lens, how much intensity, because if you have a wide lens on it, it's going to spread that out a lot more for par versus the narrow lens, which is going to focus the direct down. So there's other stuff to consider, but might be an interesting way to get a rough ballpark. All right, guys, probably wrap her up fairly shortly. So if there's any last minute questions, be sure to fire them my way. Salem / Reef Builders. Actually, I talked to Salem already. He already said he was up for coming on my stream, so I will make that happen. Pretty sure I actually grabbed his number at Reefapalooza, so. No, he's not there anymore, but I'm sure he'll still be up for coming on. Super knowledgeable guy. I do love his passion. All right, guys. Thanks for hanging out tonight. As always fun. I appreciate. I like the random streams and just answering questions. I think they're fun. But yes, definitely anyone else you can think of that would be a great guest, put them in the comments below. And I'm just going to start like lining up a bunch of people for, fall time, since, we're still midsummer, but, September starts to like less summery and, all that stuff. So I figure I'm going to start like hammering down all the guest lineup again. All right, guys, thanks for hanging out. Anthony, Blizzard Reef, Final Mac, thank you guys for super chats. Much appreciated. Thanks for hanging out in the late night for all my UK folks and everyone else. And yeah, we will catch you guys on next week's live stream. Okay, have a wonderful